want to thank everybody for coming. I just thought we'd go around the room. Lucy, how'd we do on the Sunday show yesterday?
Your tone was perfect. You were right on message.
Michelle, how'd my hair look coming out of the gym this morning?
You have great hair. Nobody has better hair than you.
Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and blessing to serve your agenda.
That's great.
All right, we just had to show the shade Senator Chuck Schumer threw towards Trump and that stupid cabinet meeting he had yesterday. All right, y'all, let's go to our next story. A Washington Post survey of more than 500 retired NFL players found that nearly 9 in 10 suffer from pain every day. The league provides opioids such as Vicodin to deal with the fallout from repeated injuries. But a study funded by ESPN and the National Institutes of Health found that 71% of NFL players who reported taking opioids admitted to misusing them. The Centers for Disease Control says the U.S. is in the midst of an opioid overdose epidemic. Opioids, including both prescription versions and heroin, killed more than 33,000 people in 2015. Now, retired NFL tackle Eugene Monroe is on a crusade to get the league to quit testing players for marijuana and let them use it to treat their chronic pain because he thinks it is safer than opioids. A 2014 study found that prescription painkillers deaths dropped 25% in states with legal medical marijuana. He joins us right now. Eugene, how you doing?
Doing awesome. Good morning.
All right. So, when did you start this campaign?
It's been just over a year now, just over a year this time. And, you know, I look at what's going on in the NFL and not much has changed. The conversation has continued and maybe amplified. Now we have members of management and owners of teams talking about marijuana, but the policies have not changed. And we're getting ready to start another season where a guy can test for marijuana, fail, and his career be derailed because of it, and he probably should take it to heal from his injuries.
So the average person really doesn't understand how prevalent painkillers are in the NFL. I remember years ago, Brett Favre was addicted to painkillers as well. That's often talked about. And what folks don't realize, it's a matter of, look, if you don't stay on the field, you might not be in the league.
Absolutely. If you're not available, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You're not valuable to the team if you're not on the field. And you will do, as a player, everything possible to get on the field. And so will the trainers and so will the doctors. They will push onto you any pill that will mask your pain and allow you to get on the field with no concern for your long-term health, for you re-injuring yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me my last year playing. I hurt my shoulder. They gave me pills. I hurt it again. I was even told that my injury wasn't as severe as it actually was, and continued to play and made it worse. This atmosphere needs to change in a hurry.
So why do you say marijuana is a better option?
You look at marijuana and the list of conditions that it's being used to treat, and you look at the problems that exist in the NFL, you look at the issues with head injury, you look at the issues with pain and inflammation. Those three things alone are the usual suspects for what marijuana has been treating at a very high level. We look at the different formulations of cannabis. You don't even have to smoke it. You could vaporize it. You could rub it into your skin. You could chew an edible. You could swallow a tablet and ingest it in all of these ways, not even getting high. You can take it and not have any psychoactive effect and still reap the benefits of the anti-inflammatory, of the pain reduction, two things that players continue to go to pills to. And it's unfortunate. Guys get addicted and use them when they shouldn't all the time. When you play football, you're in pain every day of your life, even when you don't play the game. I wake up every day of my life in pain, and that needs to be managed somehow, particularly as an athlete, because pain is also a function of your performance, and it'll shut down your muscle function if you're in pain. So you get rid of that with pills, you get rid of that with Toradol, although doctors pile those drugs on, not caring about the long-term liver damage, for example, for taking drugs like Toradol. You shouldn't get that drug on a weekly basis over 17 weeks. Some people get that drug after surgery, and that's it. One time, one huge injection, not every single week of your career.
Eugene, you make some great points here. I have a kind of strategic question, which is NFL, very conservative, much more conservative than like the NBA, right? And then also right now we've got an attorney general who's been kind of on a tirade against marijuana. We made some modifications during the Obama administration about enforcement. That's really been rolled back by Jeff Sessions. So just from a strategic kind of political standpoint, you know, isn't this maybe not gonna move because of politics?
I'd have to disagree with you, particularly on Jeff Sessions. I don't think that anything has particularly rolled back. Now, he's made statements that might bring pause to the situation currently, but regardless of how conservative the NFL is, this isn't a political issue. This is a healthcare issue, which we know it's very political. And unfortunately, it looks like it's leading to a place where players will have to negotiate again to just get sensible healthcare policies. We shouldn't see any human being punished for marijuana, whether they're an athlete or not, and certainly not to have their career derailed for taking a substance that could actually be prolonging their career and increasing their athletic output by reducing the level of pain that they're in.
But what you did say, you mentioned Jeff Sessions, yet the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price, is also not a fan of medical marijuana.
That is okay, because there are hundreds of physicians around our country, including physicians at Doctors for Cannabis Regulation, who view marijuana as a public health and safety issue.
But if you have, though, prominent government officials, like the Secretary of Health and Human Services and others, who will speak to the benefits of it, that puts even added pressure on an NFL to go, wait a minute, okay, our stance may need to be reconsidered.
Absolutely. So I've been, beginning that work, working with the Marijuana Policy Project, who hits the Hill all the time, trying to get in and talk to these people who just are either miseducated or uninformed. A lot of people believe a lot of the stigma around marijuana, things that we've been taught for decades, which are continually proven false. But unless people educate those people who believe those things, then the atmosphere will not change.
Folks, we're back talking about the issue of the NFL and marijuana. We're talking with Eugene Monroe. He played with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Baltimore Ravens. We also reached out to the NFL for comment, but the league, not surprised, did not respond. Ava, you had a question.
Yeah, I find it just particularly disgusting to see once again how the owners don't care anything, obviously, about the health of the people who are at the root of their wealth. And so when I think about what's going on right now in terms of the issues that you just described, it makes me wonder, is there sort of relationship that's going on here between the pharmaceutical companies and the owners that might be making it more difficult for you to pierce through with your marijuana?
It's so interesting you say that. Recently, the NFL let out their restructured advertising model where they're going to actually allow for more hardcore liquor advertisement during the games at a time where simultaneously a study came out linking even moderate alcohol consumption to reduce brain function over time. When you look at that, what is the NFL ultimately doing here? It's clearly financially driven. They're currently not earning any dollars from advertising marijuana companies, but clearly they are from alcohol. And I would imagine, and I don't know this, but with pharmaceuticals, there's got to be sort of the same thing there. And if not, then the fact that they're not changing the policies and continue to push pharmaceuticals on their players, it shows that even if they're not in bed with them, they don't care. There's a lack of compassion for the athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about the chemical breakdowns in marijuana. Which ones would be the active ingredients? Is it going to be the one that causes players to be drowsy or get high? Or are we looking at
I think when you look at cannabis, you look at the complete profile of the plant. It has numerous cannabinoids, and each of them have a different function. There are cannabinoids that do bring feelings of euphoria and cause the high. However, you can remove that. And there are also natural formulations of cannabis that grow with minimal levels of that THC that you can consume and not get high. However, there might be application for you to need high levels of THC. For example, you're home after a long game. You might have tore your ACL. And otherwise, you get a prescription of oxycodone, Oxycontin, Vicodin, whichever opioid drug the doc's going to prescribe you. However, if you have access to a high formulation of cannabis that you can vaporize or eat as an edible product or rub into your knee and alleviate some of that pain, those are healthier options than taking those pharmaceutical drugs.
So now,
Isn't the NFL, though, going to say, hey, we have this perception of as a family-friendly game, and that's important in terms of our advertisers and everything else, and if we give that up by sanctioning something that violates federal law, I know that it's allowed in some states, but it still violates federal law, that's going to hurt our bottom line.
This isn't a law issue. There's no law that mandates the NFL to test and punish their players for consuming cannabis. It's a policy issue, and a policy that's archaic and needs to change. We don't need to see guys' careers be derailed. Just last year, Chantrell Henderson, who suffers from Crohn's disease, he actually had to take time away from the game, have surgery to remove part of his intestines, got himself back to health, and the NFL punished him. Cannabis is one of the only known treatments for Crohn's disease. That makes no sense.
Wow.
Avis made the point about the owners and this driving their wealth, but actually that's the problem. Most of these owners are most are billionaires.
Well,
Their money comes from other sources. And so this is a plaything. Now, if this was a case where this was the source of their revenue, they would have a different attitude when it comes to the players.
Well, maybe we should speak their language. We see the numbers for what the marijuana industry looks like, the billions of dollars, and in fact, it will eclipse what the NFL earns. Maybe they should, start to look at the fact that beer basis points are dropping in markets where marijuana is available and say, hey, well, maybe we could also look at it as a revenue stream if they're not going to do the right thing and look at it as a way to heal their players in a healthier fashion.
Are you seeing more players or former players who are coming to the same conclusion you arrived at?
Almost every athlete I speak to, no matter the sport, is either interested in learning ways to heal themselves outside of opioid drugs and or has seen enough information on marijuana and can use their brain and realize that the NFL is not on their side on this issue, and they want information. They want to know how can this benefit me when I leave the game, when I have access to it? What can I do to change? Last year, I also met a player, Brian Schafering. He's just a few years older than me and already suffering from some debilitating brain issues. He's got memory lapses, and he's got vertigo, and he's got balance issues, and he passes out randomly, and he has migraine headaches on a daily basis. I met him, and he had a bag of about 12 medications with him. I spoke to him 3 weeks ago, and he's been pill-free for the past 3 weeks, and speaking to him on the phone was like speaking to a different human being. He was clear, he was thoughtful, he could speak without stuttering. There's something to this. The NFL, if they're concerned about players' long-term health and safety, they need to look at the population of players that they've allowed to destroy themselves and say, hey, we need to find an alternative way to do this, and the time is now. And I'm not saying, hey, just go ahead and let players freely use marijuana. Let's research this. The NFL's committed $100 million to research for player health and safety. Why not commit some of that to seeing if marijuana can be a solution for some of the issues in the NFL?
All right, Eugene Monroe, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. Your hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally. What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.